Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak. And there are some things that I've noticed recently, some changes coming to specifically to YouTube. I noticed that YouTube today has a new tab on my selector of content that says podcast. I think they're finally realizing that people are using their platform to put up things for podcasts, which is interesting because it's taken them this long to realize that podcasts are real. How how big is YouTube and how dumb are they to figure out that, oh wait, people are actually making podcasts and using our platform. Now, of course, as a creator, as someone who does a podcast and someone who makes YouTube videos, my question is, why do I need to use your tab? Is this going to be something that people search for there? Am I going to have to move my almost 400 videos over to? I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research. This was suddenly just brought to my attention this morning as I was looking at my stuff. So, fun times. They've also sort of lately to the game realized that TikTok is taking a lot of their viewership. And so they've come out with YouTube Shorts. There is an interesting ability for you to take your old videos and make shorts out of them, which I am trying to learn to do. I say trying very tentatively. I've done it twice. Well, three times. Two of the videos blew up really quickly, 2,000 views, 5,000 views, whatever. Um, but I don't know what I'm doing. Here's the thing is I am from a long form format, um, a really one shot, one click, one view, one take, if you will, mainly because, I started a long time ago. I started in 2011. I started with my dad giving me a project, giving me a 2000, or giving me a 1964 AMC Rambler two door. And I drove it from Maine to South Carolina with no gas gauge, no radio, no AC, no heat, um, one working headlight when I got about 10 miles away from his house at 2 or 3 in the morning, whatever it was. Um, and just my iPhone 4 at the time. I think it was an iPhone 4. I'm pretty sure it was an iPhone 4. And that's how it started. And I would turn the camera on and I would go, hey, this is me. And I'm driving this Rambler. And we're going to see how far I can get before it breaks down, or I got to figure out a way to get home or something. And that's where it began. Okay. So my base is basically like Forrest Gump. If Forrest Gump was set up to archive his life, I have sort of archived my life. I've put things on here. I've recorded things. I've tried to let people know what's going on for whatever reason. I have no idea why I started doing it, other than the fact of I felt like I wanted to tell my story. I wanted to help people in some way know something about me. Now that sounds kind of crazy because it is crazy. Okay, we talked about in a previous podcast about going to see Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock, and Chris Rock says that one of the things that people are addicted to is attention, and I think that I am guilty of that. I think that a lot of us are guilty of that. But my attention was I have something to say and no one's listening. And so I started this. I started the YouTube page. I started a podcast again because I thought I have something to say and I want someone to listen. Now, it's argued that no one listens. It's argued that everybody feels the same way. It's argued that we all want to be seen and heard. And in a lot of ways, having this YouTube channel and having a podcast has helped me feel like I'm seen and heard. And that's great. Um, I have taken it for granted at times. I have felt like no one cares. I've done this before. It's just me talking. Who am I? Why does anyone even bother to listen to me? You know, all of the things that you can use as a misdirect on making yourself quit a thing. And again, I'm sitting at 300. This is episode 398. I didn't think it would go 398. I thought that I might get to about 100 or 200 and go, yeah, that's good. Um, but here I am at 398. Now, I got approached recently by someone who wanted me to help him create some content for their business. And I would love to. Like, it would be an honor. It would be fun. It would be all of the things that I would really like to do. Unfortunately, I have a real job that actually pays my bills, and I don't have time to spend to do the other thing, which would be a lot of fun. Um, could it turn into something financial in the future? Sure. But I'm also, you know, not in a position to not work my job that pays me to do a job that might pay me in the future. And again, a job that pays me very well. It is something that would be interesting though, because it is how my brain works. It feeds right into what I really like to do. I like to show um, people doing things in a way that sometimes we don't realize. It's interesting how some people's lives are entertainment. I'll give you an example. Okay. There are some YouTubers that I really enjoy watching on a regular basis. I cannot miss an episode because it makes me happy. There is a woman who has a channel called Itchy Boots, and Norley is now starting her seventh season of basically riding a motorcycle around the world by herself. Last season, excuse me, last season she went from South America in Patagonia all the way to the tip of Alaska. And this is not taking your local roads. This is not taking the highway. This is, I want to find every weird beaten path thing that I can go to, and I want to drive my motorcycle there by herself. Um, I am amazed at her ability to learn new languages and to, um, I guess, through whatever course she learns it from, then immersing herself into that culture enough that it becomes another part of her language, another part of her brain. It definitely is not just physically challenging of trying to maneuver a rally motorcycle. Um, she's got a Honda, I think it's a Honda 300 RL rally dual sport motorcycle, and it's been modified over the year because of her trip from Mexico to or from Patagonia all the way to the tip of Alaska. Parts were not available because this was during COVID, and so she had to change things out from here and there and get what works and change that part and change this part, and it was kind of a hodgepodge of a motorcycle. And then when she finished, she had some time to basically rebuild her motorcycle and do it better. So she took the basic skeleton of what the motorcycle was and built it into a much better purposed bike for what she does. And now she's taking that motorcycle, she calls it Alaska, and she had it transported to the tip of Morocco. And now she's traveling through Africa. And it's fascinating because she's just showing her life. She's showing, hey, this is what I'm doing. And thank you for watching. Right? Here I am in South Carolina. Me and my wife were like, oh, she's got another video. Let's watch another video. It's really cool. It's better than most of the stuff I'm seeing on TV. It is. It's fascinating. Even on episodes where she doesn't do much but just drive through some very scenic territory, she'll realize, God, this is beautiful. And she'll park the bike and get a drone out and fly the drone around an area. And sometimes she'll set it up so that the drone flies and records her driving underneath it. And her ability to edit, to film, and to take in the picture and wrap her head around what she's going to film as a fun thing for people to view is amazing. And put music to it and everything. I mean, it looks professional grade. It looks like holy crap, she is really good at editing and putting things together like this. And I don't know how she does it. I'll just be honest. I don't know the magic tricks she does. My wife has a theory that maybe she has a team of people that help her, that she just sends the video to them and they put it together. Maybe. I don't know. I would think that internet is very hard for her to get. So that seems kind of because files can be pretty hard to send through the internet to someone in another country. And she goes, maybe somebody's following her around and they take the content. And I'm like, no, because there's too much road to travel. You would think at some point they would be on camera because people mess up. Um, but she's fascinating. So anyway, go check out Itchy Boots on YouTube. You may find a new addiction that you're into it just like I am. Also, Matt's off-road recovery. Um, this past week, Matt talked about Tom on the show. Tom's Tom hasn't been on the show much in the past because he had a cast of characters around him that were helping him do recoveries and do projects and stuff like that. And Tom has been in the background. Well, Tom's been in the video a lot lately, and I guess people were commenting saying, "Who is Tom? Where did he come from? How come he knows how to do all this stuff?" Blah 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 blah. And Matt basically said, Tom has been behind the scenes for a long time. Actually, it's because of Tom that we have a YouTube channel. It's because of Tom that we did this. It's because of Tom that we did that. And basically Tom has been sort of the integral part of what makes their show anything. Now, granted, a lot of it comes from Matt and it comes from his charisma and his thoughtfulness and he's genuinely likable, and he has a good family, and he has a good heart when it comes to helping people, and he's very good at his job at when it comes to recovering vehicles that are trapped in the Utah area. A lot of people try to go off roading and they get stuck, and he goes and helps them get out. He's great at all of that. But Tom was the one that was like, "Hey, we need to share this with other people because I think this could be big for us. I think that we could help more people if we could show people what we're doing. We could make some kind of revenue stream from this and then be able to turn around and help other people out with our revenue." And they've done that. I'd love to interview them. I'd love to find out the nuts and bolts of how that all worked and how that happened, and what their intention was versus what really occurred. And yeah, I'd love to find all that stuff out. So check out Matt's Off-Road Recovery. Not that they need me to plug them. They have millions of followers already, but it's really fantastic. I think you'd enjoy it. All right. So let's switch gears again. Okay. A little bit. Because this is the Stuff I Heard podcast. Ta-da. See, I plugged myself right there. Um, I've been I've been watching a show on Amazon Prime. Hunters came out with season two, the second and final season. Now, this show, when it's advertised, shows Al Pacino right front and center because he's the most recognizable character that everyone knows. Um, then you got Logan. Is it Learman? Learman. He plays the main character, Jonah. Um, Logan has been in a ton of stuff. If you're younger, you might know him as Percy Jackson. Uh, that's the first thing I said when I saw him on screen. I was like, "Oh, look, it's Percy Jackson." But he's a grown up now. He's 31. He's a full adult. And this cast this year introduces a new character. Jennifer Jason Leigh comes on as Hava, and they are on the hunt for Adolf Hitler. If you don't know, Hunters is based on a true story. Nazi hunters discovered hundreds of highly ranking Nazi officials in the 1977 New York City conspiracy to create a Fourth Reich in the U.S. The hunters set out to bring the Nazis to justice and thwart their genocidal plans. That's straight from the old internet. So there was a real thing called Operation Paperclip, where a lot of Nazi scientists and high-ranking officials, if they were seen as valuable to the U.S. invited them to come live here and have aliases, give them a new name, and use their knowledge to help further their science community and their projects. And it wasn't known about for quite a while, but now it's out in the open and you can Google it and it tells you all the information about it. But there was a lot of people who thought that wasn't right. And there was an actual group of people called hunters that actually went around and found these people and murdered them, or as they say, brought them to justice. Some people were brought before council so that they could stand trial. Some people got off, and you get to see a little bit of that. shown in this show, but there were a lot of them that were met with their demise, and sometimes happily so. So, um, so they were expected to go for longer seasons. I think they were planning on 3 seasons originally with the success of the first show. And it has sort of the tone of the movie Inglorious Bastards in that there's a bit of goriness, but also a bit of play involved in their speech and the way they're gleefully looking at the grotesqueness of what they're doing. Um, I would say that someone watched Inglorious Bastards and they were like, I could make a TV show and have characters like this. And it really felt like they had just continued that movie onward with new characters. But the cast is really good. I really enjoyed everyone on the show. I thought they did a great job of it, but it didn't go 3 seasons because of COVID. They did 1 season, did great. They were planning on a second season, and then COVID hit, and it took them 3 years to make the next season. So there was a 3 year gap between the first season and the third and the second season. And by then, everybody had moved on to other projects, and they were like, "Well, we can piece this together and we can record it." So there's a lot of stuff that they did this season where maybe characters aren't near each other, or like Al Pacino's stuff is not near the other characters for quite a while, or if it was in very brief moments. But you can tell, just I can tell anyway, that they filmed this around COVID as much as they could, and then got the content out, and it still makes for a decent story. It's odd. This season is a little clunky the way it moves through. There are some new characters they introduce us to. Again, Jennifer Jason Leigh joins the cast. You got Lynn Olin, um, and Emily Rudd. Um, but lots of good characters, lots of interesting characters. Um, it's a fun show for me just because I like the what if aspect. I like the idea because it was speculated that a lot of Nazis, not speculated, it's true. A lot of Nazis fled Germany and went to Buenos Aires because they had no extradition rules. Yeah, and a lot of Germans had bought property there, or conquered people and took their property there. I guess whatever you'd say there. I don't exactly know the right way to put that. Um, but they just moved there. There's a large community of Germans there, um, mainly because they didn't want to face their repercussions of what they did. Yeah, there you go. Good times. So, anywho, there was the theory that Hitler possibly didn't die, that he didn't commit suicide. And so this takes the idea and moves that forward as though, oh yeah, he's been living this great life down there, and now people are finding him and they're going to go after him. And the way they did it was interesting. I enjoyed it. So anyway, moving forward, stuff I heard. Okay, stuff I heard. Confused breakfast. I'm going to talk about them, and 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 you guys are going to be like, "Oh my god, I get it. I'm going to listen to some of their podcasts." I know people's time is limited. There's a lot of things to get our attention, right? They have my attention. I'm listening to all of their episodes, except for the mini bites. A lot of the mini bite stuff doesn't have anything to do with me. I went back in their catalog, and there's a mini bite about the Goosebumps books. Um, I didn't read those. I was much older. So anyway, movie wise, okay, they did a review of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen this movie. This would be interesting because I have not seen this movie. But I really enjoyed listening to them talk about it because I'm aware of the movie. I've seen parts of the movie. Like I've always walked in a room while it's on and I've watched like a scene and then I'll walk out of the room. And I've never watched much, maybe 2 minutes. Okay. Um, but IMDb or Google or whatever it is gives the rundown here. It says easily excitable Neil Page, which is Steve Martin, is somewhat of a control freak, trying to get home to Chicago to spend Thanksgiving with his wife and the kids. His flight is rerouted to a distant city in Kansas because of a freak snowstorm, and his sanity begins to fray. Worse yet, he is forced to bunk up with talkative Dale Griffin, which is John Candy, whom he finds extremely annoying. Together, they must overcome their insanity of holiday travel to reach their intended destinations. Um, so yeah, I've heard a lot about this. I am a big Steve Martin and John Candy fan. Um, yeah, I gotta watch this. I still gotta watch this. I really enjoyed hearing them talk about it. There's a lot of scenarios in this that I thought, oh, that sounds funny. But apparently, because Steve Martin's character is supposed to be very controlling and everything's out of his control, and John Candy's character is more of a, all right, well, let's roll with it. Let's figure it out. Let's find out. They have a weird relationship that turns into a friendship as the show goes on. So, but yeah, I enjoyed hearing him talk about it. All right, then the next episode I listened to was The Princess Bride. Now, The Princess Bride, to me, I did not like when I was younger. Okay, so if we're doing this confused breakfast style, they always take a movie that you grew up watching, maybe a video rental or something like that, and they give it a nostalgic view rating, and then they talk about the things they've learned and the things they like, and then they watch it again, and then they go, okay, well, here's my modern day view. And I'll be honest, when I first watched The Princess Bride, I thought, this is stupid, whatever. And I just sort of had that, this is stupid, whatever kind of feel, except for a few things. I really enjoyed the fact that Andre the Giant was in it. I liked him basically just picking up the people and toting them around. I thought that the main character, Elwes, if that's how you pronounce it, Elwes, Elwes, Wesley. I thought that Wesley was kind of a big jerk face. I didn't like his character. I thought he spoke weirdly. I just didn't jive with that. This was Robin Wright's first movie. She was picked out of obscurity. This is also Fred Savage's first movie. This is the first thing he did. They were saying that he did this in like 86 or something like that. Um, and then the Wonder Years came out the next year, and he was like the main character. But Billy Crystal was in this. I recognized Billy Crystal and Carol Kane. Great cast, just phenomenal cast. Um, where's the button? View all cast. Come on, give me the thing. Yeah, Carol Kane is hilarious. Love it. Peter Falk, tons of people, just incredible cast. But the story, again, I didn't get the story. I love the sword fighting scenes between Wesley and Indigo Montoya. Indigo. My name is Indigo Montoya. Inigo Montoya. Inigo Montoya. Yeah. You kill my father. Prepare to die. So anyway, listening to the podcast, listening to them talk about this and give the rundown, I learned some things. One of the things that I learned was that the sword fighting scenes between Elvis and or Wesley and Inigo Montoya uh, was originally a lot shorter. And upon watching it, Rob Reiner was the director. He said, "We need to make this longer. We need to have a few minutes of them doing this with dialogue and stuff to make us care about these characters a little bit more." And so they drug it out and they did more things and they had a banter of back and forth, a gentlemanly ship of, oh, here, let me help you. No, 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 get up. Do you need to rest? Oh, fine. Checking in with each other. And then, of course, he doesn't kill him. He just hits him in the back of the head. Um, so that later on, he can be a character that helps him in his future endeavors. Um, but yeah, as a kid, I didn't rank this well. I want to say I want to rank this about a 5. But after watching it later, growing up as an adult and then having kids of my own and then watching it again, I gotta say I rank this very high. I want to rank this like a 9. This is a really great movie because there's a lot of humor in it. There's a lot of heart in it. There's a lot of interesting characters, interesting dialogue. It is a kids movie in a way, but I would say that it's really not for kids. I would say that it's probably more for adults. Um, there is a funny nature to the way they're showing some things, like the rodents of unusual size. He's like, what does this stand for? Oh, rodents of unusual size. He goes, but those things aren't real. And all of a sudden it jumps at him. Ah! Um, one of the things the guys pointed out on the podcast was everything that you're seeing is basically told from the grandpa telling his grandson the story. Because the whole thing is about the grandpa reading him this story because he's sick and he doesn't want his son just sitting there playing video games. He's like, let me tell you this story. And he's like, I don't want to hear some soppy story. And as he's telling them the story, the action happens and there's cut ins. And I think if they didn't have that aspect of the grandfather and his grandson, then the movie would not be as good. Because it's done that way, you sort of take in the information as though, oh, yeah, this is him telling that story. And there's a beautiful moment in it where Inigo Montoya is fighting the guy, the six-fingered man who killed his father, and he's very passionate, and he delivers a performance that has him weeping in the end. And it's revealed later that apparently he envisioned the six-fingered man as the cancer that killed his father. And when you hear that and you go, whoa, and you go back and you watch the thing and you hear him repeat it over and over and over again. I am Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. And he just nonstop just keeps saying it over and over and over again like a mantra. And the more he does it, the more he gets upset. And he delivers a phenomenal performance, the best in the whole movie. And it's because of that you care about him. I mean, this is one of those movies that is watchable multiple times, and you almost have to watch it multiple times to care about everybody. But you find a way to. You really do. You even find a way to care about Vincini, who who's the mastermind guy who kidnaps the princess and forces Wesley to do the poison swap thing, and he ends up dying from his own poison. But him saying inconceivable over and over again is hilarious because everything he says is inconceivable is actually happening at all times. He just keeps saying it as though he can't believe it, which is hilarious. It became a tagline for me and some friends. Inconceivable all the time. Just wonderful. Great job, Confused Breakfast guys. I really enjoyed your take on it. All right. Then the next episode I listened to was the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which is a holiday staple. I love this movie mainly for Cousin Eddie. I'll be honest. To me, Randy Quaid's character, Cousin Eddie, makes the movie great. There is a wonderful ability for Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo to have this really interesting family dynamic. Johnny Galecki was great as their kid, Russ. Russ constantly gets recast. Juliette Louise plays Audrey, again, constantly recast. But I think without Cousin Eddie and the family, this doesn't succeed as a show. Um, the movie was good as a family movie. You do have the moment where Chevy Chase gets locked in the attic and he's watching the old films, and it's very touching and heartfelt. But you've got the dynamic of him just being this guy who way overspends on everything, trying to impress people, just to get some sort of thanks or as a reward. Um, and you got his wife, Beverly D'Angelo, who shows up all the time, and she's just consistently funny all the time. Um, she makes interesting choices that just furthers the jokes. And they talked about how some of the things that she did was ad libbed, and she just added to the elements of the jokes. But Cousin Eddie comes in like a train wreck, and the family comes in, and they all add to the craziness, which is our families. It is a reflection of our families, which is, I think, why we like the show so much. We all have a Cousin Eddie. We all have, a weird relationship with our in-laws and our family. And when they come around and they all intermingle, it's a little chaotic. And so I think that's why the show succeeds so much. So yeah, I would say that if I'm voting this on the confused breakfast scale, my nostalgia rating is probably a 7.5, and current day is probably an 8. 8 point, we'll say 8.2. How about that? I think I appreciate it more now. This past year, especially for Christmas, I think I watched it 3 or 4 times just because I was like, I like it. I want to watch it again. Or it'd be a couple days later because I went through all of the Christmas movies I could find. This just happened to be available. I think it was on HBO um, when I watched it. Maybe Amazon Prime. I don't know. It was somewhere. I got to watch it. It was one of my subscriptions to something, and it was great. So yeah. All right. I think that's all of the confused breakfast that I watched. Excuse me. I need some coffee. Goodness. It is allergy season out there, by the way, guys. If you haven't noticed, um, especially here in South Carolina, the Bradford pear trees are in bloom, which means that we're all having trouble speaking and breathing. Um, I listened to Andrew Schultz on Neil Brennan's Blocks. It's a podcast. Neil Brennan, famous comedian, co-creator of the Chappelle Show, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, Andrew Schultz is a stand-up comedian. This is a really good podcast, especially when it gets about an hour in. And he talks about his relationship with his father, and he talks about his relationship with his girlfriend and the things that they do to work on each other and to work on their selves. You guys probably know Andrew Schultz. He does a lot of television. He's a producer. He's a podcaster. He used to be on MTV's Guy Code and a couple of spinoffs from that. Um, he's apparently they use him in the Netflix show You People. Apparently, they're watching him on TV, and he's like, they didn't give me any money for that or ask me permission or nothing. But that's cool, whatever. Um, he's building his own network and hitting it in stride. And this is a great podcast between him and Neil. And again, around the 1 hour mark is where they get really deep in conversation about relationships and about how they navigate those and about he navigates those. And it's good stuff. There's a lot of good nuggets of truth in there. HBO, The Last of Us, episode 6 came out this past week. We get to see Joel and Ellie making their way, um, looking for the fireflies still. They go out into Wyoming and find a hospital, and they're not there. There's a lot of interesting things that Joel does in this episode, looking for what he's supposed to do next. You get to see him suddenly realizing that he cares for Ellie and then he's afraid that he's going to fail her. He's afraid that he's going to fail her like he failed his daughter in a way. Not that he failed her, but he just couldn't protect her in a situation that just went chaotic really quickly. And it's to me, it's one of his best performances. Um, there's a really there's a really good conversation that he has with his brother in this show that he may end up winning an award for. It's pretty powerful. So looking forward to episode 7. Comes out tomorrow. Probably won't watch it till Monday, but still, it's good stuff. And The Bad Batch, episode 10 came out. Um, I love Star Wars. Obviously, I'm wearing the Bad Batch T-shirt right now. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, but they're doing some good stuff. The boys are at it. Their their ship got stolen in the episode before, and they've tracked down this thief. And you find out that the thief is working for someone who is basically using everyone as slaves to do his bidding and to steal things and to mine, and is not giving them anything in return. And it's sort of a reflection of what happens in a power vacuum whenever people who are in charge suddenly aren't in charge anymore. And there's a little bit of lawlessness going on here that's not good for its people. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I like it. Of course, the Bad Batch guys help save the day, as they always do. But yeah, you're getting more character development and character growth in this. And Dave Filoni doesn't mess around with a outline when it comes to introducing characters. He doesn't just introduce characters and go, "Yep, you'll never see them again." They always come up later, which is to me, it's one of those interesting tricks that George Lucas really did. I think that's why Star Wars is so successful. It's not just the vision of what it is, or the intermixing of samurai culture into a space odyssey. Um, it is the idea that everyone that's on screen you're going to see again. So if you have a character that you kind of like, they'll come back up, and it brings back nostalgia of you know people who are super fans versus the casual watchers. This is the thing that injects the joy in the super fans. Is you go to watch it and you go, oh, yeah, I know that character, or hey, I've seen that thing before. That's that thing that's it's all these Easter egg shows that pop up around these things that go, I've seen these things before. I know where they're from. And let me tell you about it. It's the dialogue that happens outside of the thing that helps it succeed and creates the joy in the viewer, because the viewer feels like almost like Alfred Hitchcock used to make movies. He would tell you what's going to happen, and the people on the screen couldn't know what's happening. But at home, you were yelling at the TV, going, "Look out! Look behind you! It's right there!" Or "Don't open the door! He's on the other side!" Lucas and Star Wars and Filoni have taken this a step further, and they're showing you clues to mysteries that are going to come up later. They're showing you things, trinkets, people that are treasures that our characters don't know about. And Bad Batch to me is the interweaving of those trinkets. Yeah, I just came up with that. Man, that's pretty good stuff. Wow. I wonder if I'm right. I feel I feel like sometimes I say stuff and I think to myself, did I come up with that or did I read that somewhere? I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay. So I'm gonna do something new here. Uh, there is a musician I want everybody to check out. Oh, also, next week is Hairball, so get your tickets to see Hairball in Augusta, Georgia. Go check them out. It's gonna be fun. I'll be there. We'll have a blast. Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers are opening up, and Hairball is gonna be awesome. But yeah, I want to talk about some new music that I found, and this is weird because I found it through TikTok. I've been finding musicians lately through TikTok. Elliot Greer, loved him, fantastic, just rocked my brain. Gave me chills over and over and over. I had to buy one of his songs because it was just so good. And now he's got a big contract deal with Sony. He's like on TikTok going, "Thanks everybody for your support, and I got a deal from this. This is awesome." So let me talk about somebody else that I found recently on TikTok this week. So good that I actually bought the song. Nolan Taylor, Nolan Taylor. Nolan Taylor. There's a song called 68. Not you don't have to spell it out, just the number 6 and the number 8. Go find it. Go find it on YouTube. Go find it anywhere you can find it. It's available for purchase on iTunes and Spotify. Um, Go listen to 68. It starts off very quiet. It gets louder. It's just him and a guitar. And it is emotional. It is a singer-songwriter who's lived a life and has had a flawed family life. Immediately, I could not help but think about how many of my friends have had a rough life coming up, and feeling the emotion of this guy in the song. I felt like he was someone that I knew. I felt like he was, in ways, part of my family, part of my growing up, part of my story. Not my story in particular. But there's elements of it I could see in my mom, or elements of it I could see in one of my best friends, or elements I could see in a guy that I became friends with when I was young who needed to escape. Um, Friends that I have that are adults now who are going through things. This song is really a kick in the gut, and it is beautiful, and it is haunting, and it is powerful. And if you watch it on YouTube versus just listening to it, you're going to see this guy's emotion in his face, and you watch his hands shake as he's doing it. It is fantastic. Give Nolan Taylor a big shout out and tell him you heard him here, because I love it and I would love to talk to him about it. I found more of his music on YouTube. I couldn't find 68 on his channel. He has his own YouTube channel, but he doesn't perform 68 on there yet. He's got a couple of good performances on other things. There's one of him standing in a field. I linked it on my Facebook page. I'll link it on the podcast stuff. But go check him out. So that's it. I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you everybody who's been listening and been part of this. If you guys have noticed, Bert Kreischer has his movie trailer out, the full 2 minutes and 13-second movie trailer. It's hilarious. I can't wait to go see it Labor Day weekend. I'm going to be in the theater. If anybody wants to go, hit me up. We'll do it. So thank you to everybody who listens and who helps me out. Please help out me. Help out me. Who says that? Who? I did so good saying words, and then I get to this part, and it all falls apart. Ah, help me out. Give me a subscribe, give me a thumbs up, give me a listen, give me a share, give me something. Just help me out here. Let me know that you're there. Let me know that you care. Let me know that you are enjoying any of this, or if you don't, let me know that too. Let me know what I can do better. Um, I'm always working on me. I figure I can't fix anybody, but I can fix myself, maybe. Maybe. We all can, right? So, um, big thank you to Bradley for the offer. Sorry, I can't do it. I just don't have the time. But yeah, take care, everybody. And as always, cue the cow.
So I want you guys to give me more likes. Give me more likes!